10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That was a little dramatic, but it is what it is. How you guys doing today? It's me, San Martin, Eric Knight, and we have two lovely people here to help us understand a couple things that are going on. And I believe that everybody out there needs to go ahead and watch right now. Without further ado, tell everybody who you guys and what makes you guys famous.
Okay, I'm going to jump in real quick and then we're going to go with you guys. Okay, so this is a big one, and huge shout out to Brandon Montoya for setting this all up because he believes, and I think everybody here believes, that this is an important part, right? 15 years, right? 10 years. Okay, 10 years is a long time. And so these are the most important people in the building right now. And so I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about your background and Prescott background part, and then we'll dive into questions.
Hi. My name is Mary Fredrickson, and I am a member of the committee, the General Plan Review Committee, that is helping the city staff in developing and eventually putting onto the ballot the new general plan.
And I am Deb Thalassides. I am a member of the General Plan Review Committee as well. Some of the committee members were appointed by council members. Others came from existing boards and commissions. So I was appointed by Council Member Montoya, which is probably why I'm sitting here. I have a background in local government, so this kind of fits in with my knowledge base. And it's, I think, a hugely important step for the community to take, since we've seen so much growth and there's still so much to come.
And this is a good day because it actually just, we were all down. I don't know if you guys saw the meeting this morning. We were down at City Hall going over the plans for Whiskey Row. And there was a lot of talk about what is part of the old plan that applies to that area and the rest of Prescott and where Prescott should be built. And there was a lot of public comments about what should be done and where we're at. And I look at these plans and the old plans is kind of a roadmap, right? Is that everybody can go back to and say, okay, no, this is what everybody agreed on, the council, the committees, the public, and that's your reference point, right? And a lot of people were doing that with the old plan today. They're going back and saying, hey, you know.
Well, exactly. And I think that is part of, not controversy, that's not the correct word, but the thought for the new plan is how people can look at the new plan and rely on it, as opposed to the old plan, which sometimes the actual events taken or decisions made weren't quite in keeping with what the general plan said. I think that's one of the goals for this plan.
Right, so as important as the meeting was this morning, this is more important. That's what we tried to stress leading up to this on our show this week, is what you guys have going on is even more important, because what's going on here is kind of the cause, and that's the effect. Yeah. Right?
This sets the framework and the strategy. It doesn't define the specifics. And things like the Historic Preservation Master Plan gets more into the specifics of historic preservation, while an economic development roadmap might get more into the specifics of economic development strategies for the community. So there's spin-offs from this. This sort of acts as the hub, if you will, and then these spokes go out from this hub.
I think Martine's got questions. I heard it before we jump in, because there's a million questions.
I always got questions. Yeah. And just to update, the people that are out there right now, what the plan is all about. I'm going to do a little snippet because we pulled some stuff off of the website, and I'm going to put that in the comment section right now so you guys can go ahead and read it yourself in regards to what this actually really means. So in 1998, the governor signed into law the Growing Smarter Act, and the Growing Smarter Plus Act became law in 2000. Combined, these acts were the first significant state-level planning legislation in Arizona in over 20 years. The act requires cities and counties to address the issues associated with urban growth and development. It was intended to strengthen the ability of the communities in Arizona to plan for growth and to acquire and preserve open space. It is a very broad in scope, and it requires committees to address the growth and growth-related pressures by requiring a new general plan elements that identify growth areas, establish policies and strategies for new growth to pay for its fair share, and new public facility requires to serve it. identify open space needs and regionally plan for interconnected open space, and analyze the environmental impacts of the development anticipated by the general plan. So the top question that everybody needs to ask is there a sustainable amount of water to help the growth of Prescott in general? And I think, Eric, I printed you out something that will help you with the conversation in the water section of is there enough water for this growth and all these things that people want as far as Prescott, Arizona. So that will be my first question in regards to how, what kind of questions have been coming up in the general plan. And I'll turn it back.
And real quick, I mean, so what he's highlighted here, this is the original plan from the last time. And what I guess was most shocking, and I guess most of the questions are about, are the water, because it looks like when this came out, they were identifying concerns of water. And that's now this plan is sunsetting. And, so it sounds like you guys have been working at this for a while now, and you've identified a lot of things that aren't working and that may have worked in the original plan. And so I guess a good place to start with water is how is water going to be addressed in the new plan?
You say been working it for a long time, and it may be more correct, I think, to say we've been talking about it for a long time. Maybe not so much as working what
Details.
needs to be done
Okay.
in order to ensure the water supply. For the growth plans that were put in place earlier, and maybe it's incorrect for me to say stuck with, but once developments have started down the road, it's almost impossible to take them back off track. So the pressures on water are coming no matter what we do for the new plan, but the new plan can address future.
Okay.
Yeah, the last general plan meeting, which are open to the public, they're the last Wednesday of every month at 2 p.m.
And there's a big one coming up, right? This month.
Well, there's one every month.
Oh, really? Okay. They made it sound like this was the
yeah.
big one. Yeah, like an open house.
Oh, the open house,
Okay.
yes. But the one we had last month, the water staff did a presentation. And one of the things I think they're going to be recommending is that we do a strategic water master plan, which we don't have. And I think it was brought up in 2015, and there's just hasn't been the staff resources to get it done. But given the additional pressures of the last 10 years, there's an incentive to really take a look at that. The other thing that they are waiting on is some modeling that I think you all may have heard of. The city's been involved with Prescott Valley and the Saltwater River Project to build a model, and it keeps getting pushed back, but that's going to be key to the plan that they develop. What this general plan will do is call for that to happen again. So again, it's that broad framework, and then the staff drill down over the 10-year period to accomplish the objectives in the general plan.
So give everybody an idea. This is a 10-year plan, and it's destined for 2025, right? So still 2 more years out.
Right.
When do people start to feel the effects of these?
Well, that's a pretty broad question, since the general plan encompasses so many different areas. Any one particular area may have action items that you'll see relatively quickly, others way off into the future.
Okay.
But to Deb's point, as far as regional cooperation and calling for master plans or big overviews of, for example, water, which I think is most people's key point that they're interested in. There's what Prescott can do and what we can do to influence the other regional players.
Everybody has to be on board.
Yeah.
And different areas of the county have different approaches, let's say, to water and development.
Well, and outside of water, I mean, he's highlighted on here, and I don't know if this is the old plan or the new plan. I mean, this covers everything, like land use, maps, zoning, circulation, transportation, open space, growth area, environmental policy. Like, it's not just water. Like, it is, wow, bicycles, energy. I mean, we're talking a lot of topics that have to be made and comprehensively made.
And one of the things that will be different about the 2025 plan is previously Prescott had a population of under 50,000. So they only had to cover 10 of those specific elements. The staff has told us that we expect to turn into 50,000 sometime in this 10-year period. So we're going to be adding a number of elements that were not in the 2015 plan.
Wow.
So starting with conservation on down, recreation, transit, public services, public buildings, housing, all of those are going to be new to this upcoming plan because of the change in population.
This is
Theoretically, not where to put them
I don't
on.
want to interrupt you guys, but the conversation that a lot of people are in, and when I'm out in the talking with the community in general, some of the things that we are talking about is the cost of living. These are some of the issues that are needing to be taken care of. And it seems like you guys, not you guys specifically, but the planners prior to this had the same conversation back in the days in regards to the ability to house the retirees and also people that are still in the workforce. Have you guys talked about that conversation as of yet? And if you have, what stuff has come up in order for a solution to maybe a potential big problem?
Well, I don't know that we've talked solutions so much as highlighting when we have been, as the committee, absorbing information from the city staff amongst the various departments that have come forward. And so ideas have been discussed, specific solutions, not so much. For example, the Unified School Districts targeted housing that they've opened up for some teachers, and I think a fireman or
Chino Valley's, right? I think
is
they're
it
doing that too.
Chino
Yeah.
Valley's
They're
doing
building
it,
stuff,
but
yeah.
also Prescott Unified
Okay.
School District is heading in that direction, which are frankly small in that the number of units available, but people are thinking of maybe taking a creative approach to not just having a developer come in and plaster a new housing tract at whatever market rates they think they can get, but what else can the city and the school districts and the various entities do to promote or at least get out there some element of housing that would address the cost of living for people.
I had a developer make one of the most craziest and most like prophetic statements, saying, if we want to help the community in whole, and if the city has property, would it be like in the best interest to maybe give that property in order for the developers to do affordable housing for our workforce?
Wow. I think you used the word crazy. I'm not sure I heard that correctly, but that seems like a crazy thought. On the other hand, brainstorming, I'm all for that, but I'm just one member of the committee and certainly am not writing the plan myself, but I would certainly be very taken aback by the idea of the city providing land to a developer with the idea that it would be affordable housing. Sometimes the term affordable housing is open to interpretation.
Yeah, I think it's more or less just maybe we are personally brainstorming currently right now, and hopefully in our thoughts that it will start activating the community to maybe be a little bit more like, hey, how can we help with the planning of this general plan? How can we be of service? So I don't know. I just like throwing some stuff out there, but hey, here I am.
No, thank you. And I don't mean just to jump right in, but that was a perfect segue, and we may be approaching this later, but the open house that is at the end of August is a great opportunity for the public to come and provide input, brainstorming to the city staff on specifically housing as well as water and all the other hot button environment, open space. The list is long, as you know.
The new list.
Yes. They'll have opportunities for not only talking to the staff and providing input in their ideas, but also physically writing out cards and stickers to put on the various poster boards that will be around the open house to get their ideas into the staff's head. And brainstorming is frankly what is called for at this point. Whether or not I hear an idea and I think, oh, I don't know about that. But the idea about brainstorming is to put it all out there. Not all will pass muster, but get it out there. And that's what we need the public for, to come to the open house and provide their ideas.
One of the things that we have heard is the link between, and I'm going to use the word attainable housing because I think that's a slightly different concept. But the link between that, and we've heard a lot about the need to augment the medical providers in the community, that there's a feeling that there's a shortage. And I happened to be at my routine physical, and I asked my physician if their office had gotten a nurse practitioner yet, and he said, no, we can't find anybody. And I asked him why, and the number one reason was the cost of housing here. So there is a link, not just with employers, restaurant owners, or city or the school board, but there's a link with our ability to attract medical providers. And that's another top of mind issue that we've heard from people.
Are you guys familiar with the Center of the Future downtown?
Somewhat.
So that's
I've heard of it,
yeah,
but not.
and so I have a business down there, and basically the concept is to retain and keep younger individuals that are graduating our schools here to do those kind of jobs, high-tech jobs, medical jobs, things like that. The joke is the second they graduate Prescott High or they graduate Yavapai, they're in Phoenix by 5 p.m. that day. And so we spend all this energy and effort to get them through and trained in the program. And then the second that they're graduated, they're gone. And so I know there's a big push to trying to
Sure, it's
keep
the
them
brain
here.
drain.
Right.
Yeah.
The brain drain. That's exactly what it is. And so you guys have nailed that as far as what's been happening, and the effects are everywhere.
Yeah, the only saving grace is that Phoenix is getting very expensive to live in as well. I think all of Arizona is experiencing a housing shortage, as most of the country is. So we're not unique, but we need, like Mary says, to do some brainstorming and come up with some creative ideas.
So how far along is, because we talked about doing it for a while. I know this kind of started discussions around January. Is kind of when you guys started getting together.
I think the committee was formed in September, but
okay.
but it took a couple.
It was
that
July
early?
of 20.
Took a couple months to
Yeah.
get in, do it.
So what's the rest of the process look like? I know there's an open house coming up, but what is the rest between now and 2025 and it gets stamped? What does that process look like?
Well, I think for the rest of 23, we're still, as the committee, gathering input. We have the different departments come in. You mentioned water, and come in and provide input to us so that we know where the departments stand currently, what they're working on, how they're moving forward, what their challenges are, which is a big element of it.
That's huge.
Yes, and so that's through 23. Through 24, the staff is going to be actually writing with the input from the open houses. I think they're going to have more than one. And the input from the departments, what the committee adds, their thoughts.
The survey, there's a survey on the website. That
Right,
people can
another
take.
part
Yeah.
of the public input is on the website. There's a survey that the public can
Yeah,
take.
Martine, I took it. Martine, make sure you post that up.
Yeah, I'm actually putting up the image for the website.
All right, very good.
So if
And
you
then
guys want to go back there, if we're displaying all the information, just FYI, on the bottom. If you go to planprescott.com, you could go ahead and have all this information. It's accessible. You could go ahead and download the PDF and read along on some of the things that need to be talked about. So here's a snippet of Plan Prescott's front page. 2015 general plan. That's what Eric has in his hand from the 2015, and then public participation is another avenue to read into what's going on. And I think also we have the general plan FAQs. So there's some questions on there that we could possibly ask right now. So ladies, we're going to go ahead and put you to the test.
Uh-oh.
In regards to a couple of things, we're big advocates. I am big advocates. I'm going to speak for myself in regards to this. And the only reason why I love it is because every time I hear somebody come from the cities, they're like, I feel so alive. I feel so happy in Prescott. And my favorite thing to say is because you're probably breathing clean air. So with that being said, environmental planning is a part of this plan. With the congestion of more vehicles, more tourists, things like that the city is really trying to bring to our city, how's that going to look in the next 5 to 10 years? Or how can we actually change it or help it in general?
Or plan for it.
Yeah, exactly. I know one of the elements in the plan is transportation.
Mhm.
And so the idea of roads, yes, no, more, fix the ones we have, build new ones, and then also alternative modes of transportation. There are challenges with developing, for example, more buses that might alleviate the need for people to get into their individual cars, biking lanes, bike lanes, whether or not that's feasible. Not everybody has the ability to get on their bike, excuse me, and ride the hills.
There's some big ones. Yeah.
Get an e-bike.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, the riding a bike along the 69, for example, it would be hair raising for a lot
Some
of
try.
us.
Yeah.
Yes. So there are a lot of challenges involved with transportation, and I think that's a big issue as far as environmental either protection or degradation, depending on how you might want to look at it. But that's definitely an element that I don't want to harp back to the open house or the survey, that I think the city would really like to hear from people as to what they feel is both the achievable and the desirable. I mean, you might want to say, yes, bike lanes everywhere, but is that really an achievable solution? And would it have the impact that you might, if you're a bike rider, you might think, oh, this will be great and people will use it a lot. Maybe yes, maybe no. And so if the city could get input from people as to whether or not they would want their resources to be funneled into bike lanes versus small bus routes, for example, or build more roads, or, oh my God, don't build more roads, just fix the ones we have. That's the kind of input the city would like to have so that they can incorporate it into this general plan that's going to be on the 2025 ballot.
And one of the things the general plan does is, even though we talk about individual elements like transportation, there are solutions outside of transportation, like you want to have commercial development within a certain radius of residential development. So people don't have to commute down to 69 to get to the stores. They can shop at the stores where they live. And right now that is somewhat of a gaping hole. So the general plan takes transportation problem, which causes environmental problems, and says, well, how can we fix that through land use, and what land use policies do we need to have to support that? So that's kind of the difference between this plan and the individual plans that you might see around. We try to get away from the silos and pull the pieces together.
A good quote that I heard the other day is, most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10. And
that's
so,
interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
this is looking at this 10-year plan. You know, that's really it. It's a lot can happen. And I look back to 2015. It seems like forever ago now. You know, when that plan was commissioned, and they were probably working on it in 2012 and 2013.
Yes, they were.
No doubt.
This was a very different place then.
Yes,
You
it
know,
was.
so okay, Martine, do you have any other questions? I know you had some stuff you wanted to talk about too.
I know I would love to go ahead and listen to the committee in regards to how and what we are needing to do as a community. So the floor is yours if you guys want to go ahead and talk about some things.
I just wanted to add, again, I seem to be on a one track as far as community input, but we're really at that stage. Is that what is necessary? So there's the open house and there's the survey, but there is also the potential for public comment at any of the review committee meetings that we have. As Deb mentioned, once a month, people have come to the review committee meetings and have provided input, not only specific input, but also just their energy, their passion for a particular area. We had a couple of gentlemen come, I believe just last month, and they wanted to put it into the head of the city staff and the review committee that they would like to see something in the upcoming general plan that addressed any anti-discrimination policies, procedures, attitudes that the city might have. And that was their particular interest. I don't believe there was anything specific in the 2015 plan. It might have been mentioned, But I think they were looking for something more specific. So that was their area that they were very interested in, not an area we were necessarily discussing on that day. And so that's just another opportunity for the city to get input from the public. If you've got any thoughts, if you've got something that you feel is particularly important to be included in the 2025 plan, come to the meetings. There's opportunity to get up. Don't be afraid of the microphone and tell us what you think.
When are the meetings? What time of day?
They're the last Wednesday typically of every month at 2 p.m.
Okay.
And call to the public is right after roll call, so you don't have to sit through the whole meeting if you don't want to, and you can provide your feedback. We had another interesting one come in that I wouldn't have thought of, and it's not an element in the plan, but it was several months ago. We had a person come in and advocate for some mention and recognition of the arts in Prescott and the artist community and how that contributes to the economic development, which is probably where it would go. But people can come and give us ideas that maybe haven't been looked at before that we want to take a look at.
And something that we've thrown out there a couple times, Prescott Valley has done. 2:30 is hard for a lot of people. There was a young woman who stood up today's meeting and came out, and she's probably in her 20s or 30s, and said, look, I'm representing my age group because they're all working right now. And so they are not able to make a 2:30. So maybe at some point you guys can do one after hours.
That's the purpose of the open house.
What time is the open house?
It starts at 3,
Okay.
but it's going until 6. And the staff thought that it would be easiest for people to stop on their way home from work to not interfere with their evening. So we're hoping we get a good turnout. We're expecting
Need a good turnout.
Between 5 and 6, yeah. And that's when the Historic Preservation Master Plan is also available to review.
Well, and it's interesting because these things always have low turnouts, low survey turnouts and things like that. Historically, but then when it hits the
when the rubber
pavement,
meets the road.
right? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, this has been going on now for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
You've got to get involved now. And we stress that on the show in the morning is the local government is more important than the national presidential stuff that goes down. They will
Certainly
affect
for
your
our
life.
day-to-day life.
Absolutely. And so we really encourage absolutely everybody, especially right now. 10 years is a long time to get involved and say, I'll do it later. So this is the time to get involved. This open house sounds like a big, important deal.
It is a big deal.
And just so that you guys know, I put on the screen the actual link to the survey. So if you guys go to planprescott.com/public-participation, you will be able to go ahead and participate in those surveys. So I just want to put that out there so you guys know. And if you guys want to go ahead and email somebody that is going to be answering your guys' questions, it's going to be hello@planprescott.com.
Quick comment I wanted to add on the survey is there's a set of, I guess I would use the word canned questions, but then at the very end, there's an open-ended section. So if something isn't covered in the survey that's important to people, there's an opportunity for them to address that in the survey. They just need to get all the way to the end to the open-ended questions.
Oh, that's good to know. Very good to know. So one more last question, unless we want to keep on conversating about some special interest, is that when we start planning for the future, I mean, in my mind, been born and raised here, I always, and a lot of people say it. I mean, I think we've had in today's meeting earlier in regards to the Preservation Committee meeting, I just moved here 2 years ago or whatever it may be, and they're just like, the growth. And I mean, I love people when they come to Prescott and they're just like, all right, shut the doors off. But I've been here since the beginning of my time, 45 years ago, and all I acknowledge is the growth. Like, can we really slow it down? I mean, is this something that is obtainable, or what do you think we could do? I mean, this is a question out there to the community of Prescott. What can we really do about that? And also, the infrastructure is one of the biggest topics that are going on right now. Like the corridor through Granite Dells and the road that they're trying to plant in from Highway 69 to what is that, Prescott Park Lakes or something like that. Like, I believe those are infrastructure issues that need to be addressed. How are we going to fix those? And that's my final question. And the rest, everybody better go August 30th. I'm going to put it on the screen real quick as soon as you answer the question.
Well, I think you've push that hot button pretty significantly. I'm sure you're referring to the Sundog connector, which runs from the 69 over to the 89 along the south face of Glassford Hill. That's certainly a hot button issue, and we expect certainly at the open house to hear from a lot of people about that. But also the expansion to 4 lanes through the Granite Dells, another hot button topic. And in fact, I just read a letter to the editor in the Daily Courier this morning, speaking of that the idea that all the growth to the north side of Prescott is happening, and there's just no, we might slow down future developments, but the developments that are in the system are happening. And that's just the way it is. And with more houses come more people, come more cars. But the point this letter writer made was that we can't think about the new people coming in to the north side of Prescott and the old locations where people used to drive to. What's going to have to come to the north of Prescott are the reasons for people to drive from their home in North Prescott to their job in North Prescott to their store in North Prescott. And that is where I think development, the concepts anyway that go into the 2025 plan need to address is that if the housing development is going to go forward in the north side of Prescott, that cannot be the only thing. New fire stations, stores, jobs development toward the airport and in the immediate area, so that all those people who are buying houses on the north side of Prescott don't have to come jamming down through the 89, through the Dells, those 2 lanes, and therefore, encouraging the Dells to be blown up. I hate to use such an inflammatory term, to allow for 4 lanes through the Dells.
I think that's the only way through there is blowing things up, and I think that's what a lot of people are saying. Why are we blowing some rocks up? But then again, if growth happens, infrastructure is a huge like conversation, and these roadways they need a little bit of like adjustment in order for that to happen. So I don't know. This is one of those hot topics. I really hope that the community.
I think there's more.
No, I was just going to say that the letter this morning, and I read that as well, really rang home with me because I had a conversation with, I can't even remember who it was now. We were talking about where growth is going to go. And if you think about Prescott as we know it, the downtown core area, the west side, Yavapai Hills and all that, there's not a lot of good infill land left. It's an expensive build. If you want to build it, you can't build a lot on it because there's not a lot of space. So it's going to go north, and you're not going to stop growth. If you don't do it within the city of Prescott or the town of Prescott Valley, it's going to go into the county. So the key is planning what that growth is going to look like and then sticking to that plan. We had commercial development built into some of the northern suburbs that are currently developing, and that land was converted to residential. And so and it's a tricky balance because you don't get the commercial until you get the rooftops, and you kind of go back and forth. You can't get the investors to invest in the grocery store until they have enough people to shop at the grocery store. So you have to sit with the vacant land for a while until you get the people. But I think we're starting to get critical mass on the north side, and I think that's going to be what's different about this plan is it'll focus more to the north.
New downtown Prescott.
Yeah, Prescott East or Prescott North. But yeah, I think that's the reality because the infill development is pricey and there's just not a lot of land left.
I mean, the key that I'm hearing here is just plan, and that's what this is.
And stick with it.
Stick with it.
That second element, I think, is the key. Excuse me.
Well, this has been a really awesome opportunity. We would love for you guys to keep coming down so we could go ahead and address it, and hopefully the community watches this video. And if you guys do, I'm going to put up on the screen right now the next open house meeting. Take a screenshot right now in regards to this event. We'd love to have you guys in the audience, and make sure that you guys come out and say something, because if you don't, you can't say something after it's all done. It just is what it is. You can't complain if you don't step in right now. And we need all ages to be a part of this. It's not just the retirees. It's the people that want to live here, want to work here. So guys, come out and be a part of this planning, because we don't want it to rest on the shoulders of the committee.
I want to add too, the open house, if you work in Prescott but don't live in Prescott, we encourage you to come. If you shop in Prescott but don't live in Prescott, come down as well. It's not just restricted to residents of Prescott. If you work, shop, play here, please come down and give us your input.
Well, thank you both for stepping up, and the whole committee, because sometimes we understand this is unforgiving work. So
yes, thank you guys so very much for taking the time out of your day and joining us, this afternoon on a Friday of all days. I tell you what, this is a blessing, and I hope that everybody stands up and starts talking, because this is what it's all about. Plan, plan, plan. If we don't plan, it's going to be an issue.
You plan to fail.
plan to fail.
Exactly.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
No worries. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get back to your normal Friday. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, ladies, for being a part of our little talk. And I hope that everybody got something out of it. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to go ahead and email hello@planprescott.com, or even
Please.
just go ahead and message us, and we will try to find the right people to send you to. With that being said, I'm out of here, guys, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ann Martin. Thanks, Eric.